Hey guys, Sabri Subi here, and welcome to this module of Quantum Growth called the Dark Prince Webinar Script Mastery. And today's training is going to be a little bit different, where I take you behind the scenes and really hold you by the hand and walk you step by step through my webinar script template. And this thing is insanely powerful. I've sold over 8 figures through webinars, and webinars are just an incredible tool for long form sales. And what I mean by like long form sales is something that you're trying to educate somebody to a big commitment and educate them through that purchase decision and really have a compelling story and really a medium for you to sell in a long format. And for those small percentage of people that don't know what a webinar is, it is just like an online training where people can go on, they can attend, and they basically just take part in this training online. So there's a huge educational component to it. So really what I'm going to be running you through today is the scripted template that I've created for you to use. And this is something that I have really developed over the last 6 or 7 years doing webinars and selling through webinars and really trying everything in every single different market. So this script has been applied to hundreds of different markets and niches with near perfection. Like this thing converts like absolute crazy, and you'll be hard pressed to find somebody who has sold, 8 figures and beyond through webinars. And I'm going to be not only walking you through the psychology behind this script and like where we're doing things and why we're doing things, but then I'm also just going to give you my entire slide deck for you to customize for your own business. And I believe that this training by itself is worth more than the entry fee into this program, because I just know how long it's taken me to not only craft it, but I know how much value that it's going to generate for your business when you deploy it. And if you do it right, and if you've got a hungry attitude and appetite to scale, this thing's going to go out and make you millions of dollars if you get the execution right. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So the first section of any successful webinar is housekeeping, which should have around 250 to 300 words. And you want to achieve 3 main tasks in this section. The first one is just to welcome your audience to the webinar and to acknowledge that the sound and the audio and all of that is working. And then the second thing is to also get their attention. This is the most important thing, as you're beginning to learn from me now, that nothing is more important than the currency that is attention. It is worth more than anything in the world right now. You look at the most valuable companies in the world, and they're really kind of centered around this whole concept of attention. And if you look at companies like, Instagram and Facebook and all these companies, they only exist because of the currency that is attention. And really that's what we want to be doing as well in the housekeeping. And then we also want to remind them of the bonus gift. So we're going to be giving a bonus gift that's going to tie them to the end of the webinar, and we're going to use that as an open loop, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, when you greet and welcome people to your webinar, this accomplishes 2 things, okay? First of all, you can test the sound and make sure that the software is working correctly and all of that kind of stuff if you are doing this webinar live. Obviously, if it's a pre-recorded webinar and that's the style that I certainly advocate for, then that's not so important. And by greeting people, you're implying to the viewers that there are lots of other people watching too. Typically, the best format to kind of do a webinar is to do them live a few times and to get that social interaction and to feed off the audience and their energy and really see like what delivers and what gets you the most amount of leads and conversions possible, and then port over to what we call an evergreen webinar, which is an automated webinar that just runs in the background. Now, when you are greeting the viewers, right, and you are implying that there's lots of people watching, this gives them validation on some level and invoking the crowd mentality that if others are interested in this too, then I should be interested as well. Like, I'm not just here alone watching this training all by myself. And even if you are pre-recording your webinar and not delivering it live, you can still use this technique to accomplish the same thing. And basically, in the training on EverWebinar, We show you how to go through in there. There will be people that are actually commenting live on your webinar. We're not creating fake comments and doing all that kind of stuff. We're doing it in an ethical manner, and people are commenting, and then you can go into EverWebinar and you can approve people's comments, and then that gets added to your webinar. So when it's on replay and when people are watching it, all of other people's comments come up, and they're real comments from real people, okay? And so the technology allows us to do that. And this is what this section should look like. So throughout this training, I'm going to be jumping in and out, okay? So wherever you can see the red text, that's me actually quoting directly the webinar script that you've also got access to in the resources section of this module, which is a slide deck for you to customize for your own webinar. So again, you jump on in to say, hi everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I just want to do a quick sound check and make sure that the software is working correctly. If you can hear me, if you could please type your name and location into the chat box. Okay, great. Thanks, John from Sydney or wherever it is, right? And then you just want to say name from location, name from location, name and name from location. And naturally, if you're recording this pre-recorded for the very first time and you're not doing it live, you are going to basically just have to make up some names and locations for this section. And then you'd basically welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And then more names, you know, Jessica from Sydney. I got Mark from New York here. Got Tony from Los Angeles. Thank you. All right, fantastic. It looks like we have a widespread audience from around the country. Now, after we do that little bit of kind of greeting everybody, getting people engaged, this also allows for us to have that little bit of kind of fluffer and fill time for other people to attend the webinar that might be 1 or 2 minutes late, and you're not like just jumping straight into the content. Now, after this, you can move on to the next critical task, which is you need to get their attention. And the way that we do that is we say to them, look, now, before we go in any further, I want to ask something very important. So immediately that's going to get their attention, right? For you to get the most out of this webinar and for the information to really sink in, I need your attention. So we're just coming out straight out the gate and asking for it. Now, if you're distracted throughout this training, it will be a complete waste of both of our time. So please switch off your other devices, unplug yourself from social media, and have a pen and paper ready so you can take plenty of notes, okay? And that's really important to kind of just let them know that we're going to need their attention. And by telling them to close all these things off, they typically do. Like, you'd be surprised. Like, you get lots of people saying, yep, turned off my phone, I'm ready to roll now, Sabriel. I just went and got my pen and paper, I'm back, ready to get started. And then what we also do is we say, look, and if they aren't watching with you, let your spouse and family know that you do not want to be disturbed for the next hour or so. Okay, so this really sets the tone. And once you've set the tone and you've gotten their attention, now we can move on to the last important task for the housekeeping section. And you want to do whatever you can to encourage them to keep watching to the end and stay engaged, right? This is the thing you just keep hearing me bang on about, is selling consumption. It's not enough just to have a great title of your webinar and deliver great content. You need to constantly be selling that consumption all the way through. That's really a key. And there are 2 ways that we do this. Right? So firstly, we sell them on watching by showing them results and undeniable proof that this training works, right? And then we say, is this training worth your time? And then we bring up results from this training of other people getting results using our system. And you want to insert visual screenshots of dashboards or financial dashboards or before and after weight loss pictures or emails or any other kind of results. And then you want to have even more results. You'll see that you just need to keep stacking that undeniable proof of people getting crazy results with what it is that you teach. And any opportunity that you get throughout this webinar where you say, okay, I've got a story here, or I've got something that could even cement this point even more, you just want to keep peppering in the proof as much as you possibly can at every single turn in the road, because you're never going to overdo the proof element. The more proof that you show, the more that you will sell. It is the most compelling part of your value proposition because everybody is skeptical. And if you can prove that all these other people are getting results, it just adds so much more depth to all of the claims that you make. So at any opportunity, you can even go outside the script and even put even more proof in it. You're never going to hinder your ability to sell by adding more proof. Now, the second way that we do this is by offering a free bonus for attending, which will reward them for at the end of the training. This can be like a free high-value content offer or a checklist, or it could even be the slides of the training. It could be a downloadable guide, notes, or resources from the training, or some kind of extra resource that looks irresistible, and that is irresistible, right? And it does deliver on that. And usually, this has been used on like the registration page for people to register for your webinar to encourage more people, because it's like a physical thing that they get or a tangible thing in their mind to encourage even more signups. So we just want to quickly remind them, like, before moving on in the introduction, and say like, oh look, and before I forget, if you stay until the end, I'll give you this cool thing. And you're going to get notes and checklists from everything that we discussed, and swipe files and templates for you to reference, plus other really cool thing that they really, really want. We're just going to open that loop and keep that as bait for them to stay with us. All right, so that is the housekeeping done. That's the first part of the webinar. Now let's move on to the introduction. The introduction section should be around 1,500 words and is probably the most important part of all. And when I say 1,500 words, I don't want you counting the words exactly. I'm just giving you that there for a loose kind of suggestion of what you should be looking at. So it's not just like 3 words and then you just get straight into the webinar. Now, if you don't hook them and get them eager to listen to what it is that you have to say, they're going to click away and you're going to lose the opportunity to make your offer. That's the reason that I say it's one of the most important parts. I've seen people, they might have killer content in their webinars, but that opening hook is just crap. And like, it's like a battle, and there's this constant gale-forced wind and resistance for you to step through every step of the webinar. It's just painful. And that's why if you get it wrong, like, that's it. It doesn't matter. You're dead, right? You're dead on arrival, because no one is ever going to see your content, or they're never going to see your offer if, you don't really hook them in. And the other thing is, people expect webinars to be either poor quality, dry and boring, or just a straight sales pitch with no value. There are so many people online with shitty webinars. They think that if you just put a webinar online, that it's like rubbing the magic spot on the genie and money just falls from the sky. A webinar itself is not the thing that sells, right? It is just the delivery vehicle for us to get our concert pitch out on. And because there's so many people that have just got really bad webinars that are just so stagnant and boring, and you can tell that like it's the first time that they're reading through this thing, or on the other hand is that they're just so aggressive with their sales pitch and they deliver no real value. We need to let people know that straight out the gate that this is going to be completely different from anything that they've ever seen or heard of before, and that it's going to be worth them paying attention to. Because if you don't address that massive elephant in the room, you're thinking that you're operating your business and your webinar in a vacuum where they've never ever seen a webinar before and it's this magical thing. That's not the case. They're jaded. They've already attended lots of webinars and their webinars have been shit. So you need to make sure that from the get-go, we come out the gate, address all of that. We're going to be radically different. This is going to be like nothing you've ever seen or heard of before. And we want to achieve 5 key things in the introduction section in the following order, okay? So the first thing is to establish the authority and the undeniable proof by showing those screenshots and really showing them what is possible using our systems. Then we want to give them hope and set the agenda. We want to tell them what the big promise is and really get them like excited for what's coming up. And then we want to get a commitment from them that they're going to be watching this, full engagement. They're all like, we're going to have interaction from them, all of that kind of stuff. We want to touch on some of their objections, like, just let them know that we're not oblivious to their concerns. And then we want to create intrigue and arouse what I call burning curiosity. So begin by immediately establishing your authority and your credibility. You want to let the viewers know that you are the expert, you are the real deal. And you can do so with these proven ways. And I keep coming back to this show, don't tell. And it really is a mantra in marketing that works phenomenally well. And it's really where you just keep layering and stacking and peppering on that undeniable, unquestionable proof of your client results. There are gurus out there on every corner of the internet yelling some stuff, and very few of these people have any proof. So you want to keep collecting proof. It is an asset for your business that you can put to work on any single sales delivery vehicle. Show your social proof, such as how many clients you've helped and how much money you've made or saved them. And now we move on to the hope and agenda section. And this is where we start this section by stating the training title, which should be the main hook and big promise of the webinar. And the webinar title can't be dull. It can't be boring or anything that they've been promised before. Because if you do that, you won't get many people signing up to watch it in the first place. And if you don't get many people signing up, then you're not going to get any clients and you're not going to make any sales. So you should use the following formula to create your title/hook and make your webinar as effective as possible. Now, let me just state that this is a highly coveted copywriting formula that I've used to sell over $1.33 billion worth of goods and services in over 416 different niches and markets. So before you think, oh, this is not going to work on my business, or I'm completely unique, I'm this majestic unicorn and everything is completely unique for my business and my customers are completely different, the chances are that I've already deployed this in your niche and we're already milking that market. So, I just say this so you understand that this can 100% be applied to any business in any niche, in any country, selling at any different price point. And that is Nuif. And it must be new, unique, exciting, easy, predictable, and huge. So let me break down each one of those. New. This really carries the most freight with getting your message read and accepted. You want to make it new and novel somehow. Any way that you can, you got to put that new shine on it. If there's a new mechanism or a methodology to achieve a desired result that you can use, you must use it and infuse it, because people, they just want new shiny objects. And even if what you deliver is old, you need to find some angle to add that new shine. Otherwise, you're gone, right? The next thing is unique. You also want to try and give it a unique spin. Not only new, it must be unique as well, and make it different from everything else that they've seen or heard of before. Make it stand apart from all the promises that have already saturated the market before it. The next one is exciting. You need to get your prospects' blood pumping. And this is just a thing that I see, like, no one focuses on. They just think that it can be everything else but exciting. No, it must be exciting. The topic itself needs to be exciting, as well as the way that you present it in your webinar. You can't bore your prospects into buying. They'll just click away and they will buy somewhere else. So just by any means necessary, make this thing exciting. Easy. People don't want to do things that are difficult and take a long time. They want an easy, quick fix. They crave quick, easy, like press button solutions. Leverage this in your offer and in the title of your webinar, right? By reducing your prospects' workload and play into their laziness. Right? And I'm going to bring up some examples of how to do that in a moment, but this is really, really big, and it really needs to be a cornerstone of the title of your webinar. Predictable. You need to reduce the risk factor. When you make a big, bold, exciting promise, you add to that promise automatically by default skepticism. And skepticism is already rampant in the marketplace, and you've just made it even more rampant by making a big, bold promise. And you need to mitigate this by making it clear that they can achieve the promise while risking minimal time, effort, and money, thus making your offer predictable. And that is the way that you do it. You do it by making your offer produce a very predictable outcome. And a great way to do that is to put a time frame on there. In the next 30, 60, 90, 180 days, whatever it might be. By putting a specific time frame to it, it makes it more predictable. And by making it predictable, it adds a lot of depth to the claims that you're making. Huge. The size of the opportunity that your offer enables, it must be huge. This is important because it demands attention, and offers that don't demand attention, they get ignored in just the sea of chaos out there. Like, i.e. the way that you would make it huge is by saying like it's a huge opportunity to invest in the booming property market in a specific growth corridors. And I just can't get over this point enough. It needs to be huge, it needs to be monstrous and colossal and critically important, and really just highly rewarding for someone to give you their attention. And always remember this: successful webinars aren't just overhyped sales pitches. And most people, that's where they get it wrong. They think, this is my opportunity just to pitch this prospect. Right? If you do that, you're going to repel your audience. Like, you need to deliver value. One of the reasons that webinars are so powerful is that you're demonstrating to people that you can help them by actually helping them, and you are delivering value to them in advance from ever asking them for giving you any money, right? And when you do that, it just makes your offer so much more magnetic, and it just sucks people in and it pulls them towards you rather than you pushing a sales pitch in front of them. And some of those pitches, yeah, sure, they do work. And it does work some of the times when you just go mega aggressive. And it works to some degree. However, you're going to destroy your reputation and your long-term customer value if you do this. You don't want somebody to attend the webinar and be like when they don't buy and be like, oh, that was like, I didn't get anything of value out of that. Like, I just basically sat on an hour webinar and have this guy just aggressively try to sell me through my computer screen for an hour. Like, that was a horrible experience. Let me just go leave them a negative comment on one of their Facebook ads, or go leave them a negative comment online, or do anything, right? That's not what you want. It doesn't cost you any more money to make your webinar of something of standalone value, whether or not that prospect chooses to buy from you. The only thing it will do is get the people that don't buy from you to talk to other people about how good you are and how great your webinar is. And then they'll send more people to your webinar that will result in more sales, okay? So the bottom line is that you must provide real value and educational content that moves them closer to their ideal outcome. We want to leave our prospects better than when we found them. And we're showing them how to achieve an incredible result without the usual restrictions and barriers to success. That is the formula that we use for our webinar titles, right? I'll say it again. We're showing them how to achieve incredible result that they all want, that they're starving for, that is the bullseye of the market, without the unusual restrictions and barriers to success, or the things that they don't like about it, right? And some examples are, again, how to make your ugly property irresistible with $5,000 in just a single week, even if you've never picked up a hammer before. Right? How to use Facebook ads plus an ugly 35-minute PowerPoint presentation to scale your consulting business to $1 million per year in 180 days, even if you're not tech savvy and have never run ads before. How to launch your new Pilates career in 140 days and earn up to $1,250 per week, even if you don't have the time or money right now. Now, next one, how to quickly and easily improve your flexibility and technique so you can become the star of your dance class, even if you don't have hours to spare time to practice and you want to avoid injury. All right, so that's kind of like the titles. You want to have some kind of specificity in there around the time frame. You want to have your big promise, and you want to have something that's unique and have some unique hook or mechanism to it. Then next, what you want to do is you want to continue to give them hope that they can actually achieve the big promise and attain a brighter future that you've just made in the title of your webinar. And we do this by showing them undeniable and unquestionable proof from other people you've helped achieve the desired outcome that they want. peppering in that proof. Here we go again, right? Tell them what you want to accomplish during your time together. So after we show them all the results and like, yeah, this is awesome, I'm really jacked up, this all looks great, then we want to say to them, my goal today is to make a big impact in your life in the following ways. I want to give you my step-by-step system so you can start achieving the results of the big promise, right? I want to give you my step-by-step system so you can finally get in the best shape of your life, shed off that excess body fat, fit into your best favorite outfit and jeans, and just have a life full of vitality and energy. And I want to dispel any myths and confusion that give you clarity about the usual limitations and objections that they have to weight loss, to building a property portfolio, to deepening their relationships with their spouse, to growing their business, whatever it might be. And I want to help them improve their life and fulfill their potential in the appropriate area, right? And I want to show you how to geometrically explode the growth of your business so you can live a life where you don't need to worry about where you're going to get your next customer from on the weekend when you're at your son's soccer game. Or I want to help you really lose all of that weight that you've been carrying around for the last years, and then every time that you look in the mirror, you don't feel great about yourself. Or I want to help you really spark back the passion in your relationship so your partner doesn't just feel like a friend, but they feel like someone that you're intimately involved with and that you love and that you cherish and that you're really appreciative of. Yet, above all else, I'm here to help you achieve the main benefit, lose the weight, enhance the health and well-being, achieve the financial and lifestyle freedom, retire young and wealthy, slash their working hours and attain time freedom, okay? So we're really just telling them that that's what our goal is today. Our goal is to give them everything that they are starving for, that they have been searching tirelessly for to find the answer to and have never ever been able to get it. And our goal is just to give that to them in this training, right? That gets their attention. They're sitting up in their chair. This is exactly what I've been looking for. This is freaking awesome. Let me just get stuck into this thing already. All right. So now we want to check in with the audience and then we want to get them to engage because they're going to be really hot and bothered by this point because we've just been giving them everything that they want. And we've been, alluding to this bright future that we're going to be getting to in a moment. And it's also another chance to reinforce the fact that there is a lot of people on the webinar and you want to do it like we did before at the start of the webinar by saying, okay, so just type the number 9 in the chat box and let me know if that all sounds good to you. Then you pause. Excellent. We have a lot of 9s and you will get a lot of people typing in the number 9 on your EverWebinar software that you can go in and approve those comments. And you are going to have a lot of real people engaging in the webinar and bringing that activity and flowing that energy back to you. So you say, excellent. We've got a lot of 9s. Excellent. Looks like we're all looking forward to what I'm going to share. I'm happy that you're all as excited as I am for this, right? Pumping up, feeding off that energy, letting them know that you're here, you're excited, you're ready to get stuck into this thing. Now, we want to move on to briefly explaining how this webinar is radically different from anything that they've ever seen or heard of before, right? And you might be thinking, like, as I'm explaining to all this, like, wow, like Sabri's bringing a lot of energy to this. And that's the thing, like, a webinar is really just a transfer of energy. And you really need to be conscious of that. You can't be on there and being like, all right, we've got number 9 here. Excellent. Like, that's not going to work. You got to bring the energy, right? Bring that flow to it and keep people engaged, because otherwise they're just going to tune out and they're going to just like slip into a coma and just fall asleep. Okay, so now this is where we want to move on briefly and explain how this webinar is radically different. And we want to sell against what everyone else in your industry is doing. So immediately they can't put us into the same as everybody else basket. Now, you want to shift into handling the common objections and shattering their self-limiting beliefs. And the way that we do that is just by coming out and addressing them and by saying, like, look, maybe you've always been interested in kind of building a property portfolio, but you've thought that you'd need to have at least $350,000 in liquid cash in your bank account. Or maybe you're uncertain if now is the right time. Like, is the property market in a good place? I'm reading a lot of negative news articles about it. Is this really the right time for you to go out there and build a property portfolio? Or maybe you think that you wouldn't be able to afford it because, you've already got one mortgage on your home and you don't know if your credit is good enough, and you've been afraid of making an expensive mistake. You've heard about how people have bought investment properties and then lost a whole bunch of money. Or maybe you just didn't think that you could do it because, you have absolutely no skills in this area and you have no experience and you don't know where to start at all. Well, let me just say that I felt exactly the same way before I discovered this system. Okay. And so you see, we're handling all their objections and then we're validating and we're saying, yeah, I used to think that way too. I used to be exactly like you until I discovered this system and everything changed for me. Okay. So now we sell against what everyone else in your industry is doing. And we briefly explain how this is radically different from the things that they may have seen or tried before. And we come right out and make what one could perceive as a damaging omission. So I will make an exciting offer at the end of this training, but regardless of whether you qualify for that or not, I promise that the training that you're about to receive for free will be more valuable than the trainings that you've paid thousands of dollars for in the past. Now, this does two things. One, it gives your prospect a logical reason why you're doing this training to dispel that skepticism even further, because naturally they're going to be like, why is this dude taking the time out of his day, or this girl taking the time out of their day to educate me and do all this stuff for free? Like, what is the hidden motive here? And so we just want to, like, most people, they'll be like, oh, I would never do that. Like, I don't want them to know that I'm going to be making an offer. That's ridiculous, right? You want to let them know that you're going to be making an offer. So it's not just deafening that. Why are they doing this? Why are they holding this free training? Like, why are they providing this value to me? I don't understand. And then that's just like deafening in the back of their ear and they can't even consume the content. We just want to come out and make that omission, right? We're going to be making you an offer at the end, but regardless of whether or not you qualify for that, again, that opens a loop. I wonder what you need to do to qualify for that, or if you're a good fit. I'm still going to be delivering the best training that you've ever experienced before. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is it unblocks the flow so that they can absorb the information. As I said, otherwise that little voice in their head, it just gets so loud that it becomes deafening. Now, what we want to do is separate ourselves from everyone else in the market and build towering authority. And the way we do that is by saying this: but why should you listen to a single word I have to say? And now we want to get into the story and our story and how we're different. And again, don't tell them, we want to show them. And we want to insert credibility. We want to rattle off the social proof, such as how many years that you've been in the field, how many clients you've helped, and how much money that you've made or saved them, your personal success with all the different examples, and anything else that is applicable. And I just can't tell you enough that, like, stories are they're the most powerful selling tool in the world. And they've been around really since the dawn of human beings congregating in groups. And, human beings started to congregate when they basically started to tell stories using cave drawings and hieroglyphics. Before that, human beings never really congregated in groups. So that's like the power of stories. It's almost hypnotizing. And you really want to tell your story and tell it in a compelling way. Now, you also want to display any media and press coverage that you've had, such as I've been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, and Huffington Post, or any local news stations or local papers or anything like that, any blogs, anything that's applicable, apply it and put it in there. If you've spoken on stage with other experts that, like, in your market or in even other markets that they might feel familiar with, right? If you've been on Oprah, which not many people have, but if you've been on anything where there's any recognizable, TV hosts or any journalists or anything like that, this also, it just builds your credibility and it just elevates you immediately. And if you've got photos with celebrities, it doesn't even have to be related to your business, right? It just include those in there because it also works wonders. Now, like, basically, once we've gone through and we've established your authority, now what you want to do is you can say, now look, let me make this clear. I don't say these things to brag or to big note myself and, self-aggrandize and just pat myself on the back. Sure, I'm proud of my accomplishments and how I've been able to help people dramatically improve their lives. However, the reason that I say it is so that you can see that I'm not just another armchair expert with no real experience, right? And this addresses their skepticism and also disqualifies the competition. And then I like to throw stones at them and call them gurus and armchair experts and just pretend experts, because a lot of people there's so many charlatans out there that have no clue what they're doing, and then they're trying to help people get the result when they have no business doing that. And I want to separate myself completely from these charlatans, and I want to make sure that my prospects and my audience know that I won't even tolerate that shit, and I'm not going to be anywhere even seen or mentioned in the same sentence as these wannabe gurus, right? And this is just incredibly important, because you are attacking that skepticism, but then you're also selling against and you're separating yourself from any of the competition. Now, we'll go on to say on this webinar, you're going to get a proven process that I've used to achieve amazing personal results that you mentioned in the authority section. So on this webinar, you're going to get the proven process that I used to take myself from my bedroom with no more than $50 and an old computer that my girlfriend had bought me to building the 28th fastest growing company in the country and the #1 fastest growing digital marketing agency in the country several years in a row, as voted by the Australian Financial Review. Boom, right? Immediately, you're bringing that elevation and you're letting them know that this process is the real deal, right? And then you want to go on and say, but this hasn't just worked for me. Now, we drop in some client case studies and results and testimonials and anything else that we've got to further prove that we have them. Like anything that we've got, we need to show that we have them, right? And we need to show those results. And then you'd be like, take client name, for example. Take John Doe. I helped John Doe go from desperately trying to make payroll and pay for his staff and losing money to exploding his business to $2 million a year. Or I helped Sally, who was very overweight. She tried paleo. She tried the ketogenic diet. She's done Atkins. She'd gone on a wheatgrass shot diet. She had tried everything. She'd done, functional fitness. She had done gym memberships, aerobics, hot yoga, you name it. She had tried everything and she could just never seem to lose the weight. Or she would lose 1 or 2 kilos and then it would kind of yo-yo and she would put it back on. And, I have helped her lose 45 kilos and keep that weight off for the last 4 years. Or, here's Sally and Michael, they were both working soul-crushing jobs. One was working as, a factory worker, and the other one was working in a warehouse stocking up supermarket supplies. And, they had just had their first child. They were both on 45 grand a year, struggling to survive. And I helped them in a matter of 4 years build a property portfolio that's worth more than $9 million. And they've both been able to retire from these jobs, and they've moved up to the Gold Coast and they're living by the beach and they just have a much higher quality of life. So whatever it is that you want to do, you want to insert as many of these testimonials as you can and just pepper them in. Pepper in that proof, right? Give them a rundown on the case study or the testimonial that there's actually been written version of your slide. So you have it up. You want to have photos, screenshots, anything that you can. Right? And you're going to get the same proven process that helped that client of mine get those crazy results, right? That help them lose the weight, that grow the business and build the property portfolio. Okay. And that is the way where you're connecting the results that you've been able to achieve. And then you're letting them know that they're going to be getting the exact same process that you used to help that client get those results. It just airs that, it has an air of credibility to it. Now, what you want to do at this stage is you don't want them slipping into a pattern. So we want to ask a couple of engagement questions with a bit of kind of future pacing sprinkled in there. So how would your life change once you knew exactly how to buy and source your first 5 properties to add into your property portfolio? Or how would your life change if you could lose 20 kilos in the next 90 days? Or how would your life change if you knew that your business had customers coming to it every single day like clockwork, literally standing in line, jumping through hoops for you to help them solve this problem? How would that change your business? How would that lower your stress? Would you be able to have the weekends free from worry? Would you actually be able to be present with your family and hang out with them if you had that completely dialed in? Okay, so once we've addressed that, now we move on to creating excitement plus injecting the fear of missing out, or FOMO, right? But before we dive in, why now? Like, why is this important right now? Why should you be interested in running Facebook ads for your business right now? Well, this is the most profound shift that we've ever seen in the digital marketing community. And it's really in a state that is kind of like an epidemic. And then you want to go on and explain why. The cost per clicks are rising so high. There's this fierce sea of competition that is flooding online. And basically what we've found is this small niche, and this small little niche online using Facebook ad that is the most lucrative and effective way to get new customers right now. Right? Or what we're seeing is that there's a huge shift in the property market, and there's a huge things changing with the socio-economic profile of people within the country, and we're seeing this huge shift where there's people moving from the country into these cities. And what that is doing, it is providing the most lucrative property investment opportunity that we have ever seen, and it's happening right now. So it's really important that you dial up that right now is the really important time. And there's a big shift happening because that kicks people into gear where they don't think, oh, I can get to this later. All right. Then we come in reason number 1, and we show graphs and news clippings and industry trends and sentences that are elaborating on what we say. So we can't just say that we're seeing this big shift. We have to show it, right? So we want to show the population growth and the movement of population from areas. We want to show, the number of users on Facebook. We want to show what's happening with the ingredients to food, or we want to show the obesity epidemic. And because people are sitting down stagnant in their computer and watching their iPhones and stuff all day, that we're seeing this huge thing. We want to show that. We want to show reason number 1, show reason number 2, show reason number 3. Okay, so 3 reasons, stack it up with as much proof, use news clippings, blog articles, graphs, all those visual elements. You want to hit them from all different angles. And practically speaking, and then you go into your final reason. And the final reason, that should be a simple, logical reason, which is easily relatable to what the viewers want to achieve, right? And so you would just say and practically speaking, it's never ever been a better time to grow a business, and it's never been easier to reach your customers than it is today. We've got these platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Instagram where there's literally billions of people that are online with thousands of data touch points, and we know who is the ideal candidate. So we can use those platforms to go out there and rapidly grow our companies, okay? Or another example, and practically speaking, we've never ever been in a day and age where the population has been growing so fast and so aggressively, and where we're seeing the urbanization of, real estate around us. And this is really providing an incredible opportunity for people that want to get involved in property investment and really to get a passive income from building a portfolio where they can invest in these assets. And there's so much demand for it that you can really quit your 9-to-5 job and completely live off a passive income. So it needs to be logical. You need to tie in the logic of what's happening in the marketplace, and then you need to tie it into what it is that they are absolutely starving for. And these must be exciting, and they must be trending upwards to really drive home that FOMO of now riding that coming wave. So it's like anything. You just got to have that excitement. It's got to be a big trend. It's got to be a huge opportunity. Huge. And you need to really have that FOMO, and that the kind of FOMO of now riding that wave, and it's coming, and you haven't missed out on it. The best is still yet to come. Now we can move on to the next important task, which is commitment. And here is another important psychological step. And you need your viewer to make a commitment to give you their attention and listen actively instead of passively. And you need to let them know that it's a two-way street and that you'll be giving them your best, but you need their best in return. And here's an example of how it's done. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something for me in return. See, the deal is this. Implementation is absolutely crucial. Nothing is more frustrating than when I give it my all and I condense what has taken me decades of blood, sweat, and tears and millions of dollars to learn, and I give you the keys to the kingdom only to bump into you in 5 years' time and see that you're still struggling with the same problems. And that really gets to me and it really gets me down. And I do not want to see that happen to you, okay? So as you listen to me today, I want you to imagine how you can implement the information that I'm going to be giving to you. And I want you to have an active learning mindset. Do not just passively take notes and don't not engage with me. I really, you need to kind of be involved in exactly what I'm going to be telling you as I'm giving you this, incredible information. I really want you to be getting the most of it because I'm going to be giving you my absolute best, yet I need your absolute best in return. I need your A game. Okay? So when we say all of this, we're getting a commitment and we're going for that commitment several times in a row for impact, right? So the way that we do that is by saying, look, are you with me? Do we have a deal? Can we agree to that? Good, because this is a vital part of your success. And it's also letting them know that wow, this person takes this very seriously. They actually really are invested and they want me to do well. Because if it was just a sales pitch, they wouldn't even be saying all of that stuff, right? They wouldn't be saying I really want you to be involved. I want you to be taking notes. I don't want you to passively be taking notes. I don't just want you to kind of sit there with an inactive mind. I want you to be involved and I want you to get results. Right? And that is a very key distinction because it also lets them know that we are here to serve them and we do want them to be engaged. And that's the way that they're going to get the best out of this. Okay, so after that, now we transition into an incredibly powerful part of the webinar. And some would argue that this is the most powerful part of all, and that is the hero's journey. And this is the part that I see that most amateur marketers jump into prematurely and they don't use it for all that it is. And they're really just dying to tell you how they were so dirt poor and how they were eating the bark off trees and sleeping on park benches and eating toenails to survive and all this crazy stuff, right? They really enjoy that and they just want to rush to showing you in front of their Lambo. And this is more about their ego than it is about using it how it should be used. And that is, it should be used as a transformative hero's journey that your prospect can see themselves in. That is the key. You want to use that hero's journey because you're oftentimes going to be talking to that person who was in the exact same position that you were when you got started. And that's the reason why it works. It doesn't work because people think you're all cool and because you were walking around sleeping on park benches and eating the bark off trees and now you have a Lamborghini and that's why it's so great. No, it needs to be relatable to them. And the way that we segue into this is by saying, look, something important to note is this. I wasn't always that guy or girl that had all these accolades. I didn't always know these celebrities. I wasn't in always this incredible shape, or I wasn't always at this height level of success that I am right now. I am not special. I am not some special person or some freak child prodigy. Neither am I someone whose success kind of just effortlessly comes to and it just flows to magically. Let me tell you the story of how this all came to be. Right? And now this is where you hit them with the story. And nothing sells like stories. I have tried everything. There is nothing that works like a story. And it is just the most ageless and timeless thing ever. And it really gets people bought into exactly what it is that you do. And do not make up stories just because they sell well. That will come back and bite you in the ass. Everything that you say must be true. You can dramatize it. You can make it seem even more dramatic than it was, but it must be true. There is absolutely no two ways about it. So this is where you insert your hero's journey story from where you started and all the obstacles and hardships and struggles and drama that you had to go through, all the mountains you had to climb, the lakes you had to cross, and the dragons you had to slay. Everything must be in here. And you must make it dramatic, right? And you need to think back to how you were feeling when this was all happening to you. Think back to the visceral details of what you were eating, where you were sleeping, how decrepit it was, or what the house was like that you were living in, or not having enough money in your bank account. But the thing that I will tell you is that drama is really the only thing that anyone cares about. I have seen it time and time again. Like, they don't really care when you transition to all the good things. They want to know how bad it was. Right? They want to know how bad you struggled. And that's what everybody's interested in. And, you want to show me how broke, fat, awkward you were. Don't just tell me. Show it to me. I want to see it. I want to believe it. So you want to show pictures of you in the early days. The more embarrassing, the better. Get very descriptive and put detail into your story. Don't say I was dead broke and I was stressed out. Give them the details. An example of this is something that I've mocked together. I'll never forget it. It was a cold Tuesday winter afternoon. I logged into my online banking account and the balance showed $23.60. That gut-wrenching feeling crippled me. As a wave of heat passed through my body, it was my wife's birthday in 5 days. On top of that, the rent was due in 2 days and I had no other option. I had to swallow my pride like a ball of barbed wire and call my wife's brother and ask for a loan. I pleaded with him not to tell Patricia. I was so ashamed of what others would think of me, and all I wanted to do was crawl into a ball under my duvet. And it was at this very moment that the pain was just too much to bear and it crippled me. I looked at the sorry excuse of a man that appeared in the reflection of a grubby bathroom mirror, and I swore to myself that I would never, ever allow this to happen again. That is the power of story, right? You need to make it visceral. They need to understand. You need to set the scene. What did it smell like? What did it look like? What day was it? Was it a cold winter morning? You have to give them the details. They have to feel it. You have to transport them back in time and make it so they can visually think that they were in there and make it really visceral. Now, you want to make it relatable to the position that your ideal target market might be in right now, right? Or worse. You don't want to be like, I was a prince and I grew up in this Arabian castle. It's like, it's not going to relate to your ideal prospect. You're just going to alienate them, right? And if your situation was worse, don't feel embarrassed to share it. The worse, the better. Because that's going to be going to the lowest common denominator in your marketplace and showing that even they have hope and even you can even help them. Then what you want to highlight is really the pivotal moment that it all changed for you. What was that kind of light bulb moment? And the way that we do that is by saying, but it wasn't until I discovered this system, this simple system, model, formula, framework, step by step, whatever it might be, that everything changed for me. My life quickly took a 180, and since then I've truly been able to do it all and live my life on my own terms. Now, this is where you want to show them the transformation, the lifestyle that you're now able to achieve because of this system, model, and formula. And this is really important when the before story is very polarizing. And then you can show them that dramatic shift. And then you want to start showing them lifestyle shots of you doing and owning stuff. You on holidays, you buying a cool car, you in phenomenal shape, whatever it might be. But you want to hit them from like multiple different angles. If you've got a whole bunch of fancy cars, don't just show each picture of you with a fancy car. You want to show them with the family. You want to show them with you on holiday, with the car, whatever those moments are for you, right? And then impact shots of you owning more cool stuff, public speaking, giving to charities, or any press articles that you've had. And then we want to go to freedom shots of you doing and owning stuff as well, working in remote locations, any beaches or snow trips or adventure activities, any cool stuff that you want to do, that you've done, this is where you want to inject it. Right? And then you want to tie it back, and I owe it all to committing to this simple system, model, or formula. And again, this does two things. It humanizes you, and it clearly illustrates the dream come true transformation that your prospect can experience, that you experience, and you are showing them through your own journey what is possible. And it further just gets them excited with another promise of results and subtly dismisses their objections because this all sounds great. And then you show it. You're showing the transition. You're showing that depth to it. And you're making it more, three-dimensional where they can see all the different elements. Now, what we also want to do is we want to present the three core elements of our content for the first time. This is where we're now starting to tease the content. And it's important to do this because when they can see the result is broken into three parts, it gives them a roadmap and it makes it logically seem more achievable. It's not just this open-ended thing that has no end to it. No, it's a three core pillars that make it this whole system work. Here's how. The framework can be broken down into three core elements. Core element number one, with a very small elaboration on it. We're not diving into great detail. This is not the content delivery part. Core element number two, small elaboration on that. And finally, core element number three, and then go on to explain that a little bit. If you follow this framework correctly, you will get results. Okay, so you want to apply these three things to whatever those three elements are in your market, and you do need to pick three, right? It might be like generating the traffic, converting that traffic into leads, and then getting onto those leads and closing them into clients. It might be finding out what are the growth corridors, what are those areas in neighborhoods that are going to explode in value, then negotiating how to get the absolute best price for them, and then how to do them up and flip them to make a profit. So whatever it is for you, it can be diet and exercise and nutrition. It can be all of that stuff. You just want to break your delivery into three core things. It has to be three core things. If you follow this framework correctly, you will get results. There are many smaller moving parts and finer details within them. However, three core elements serve as the guidepost for achieving the desired outcome that your market wants. The effort you put in here can be the difference between success and failure. It can give you extremely undesirable outcomes, or it can give you phenomenal, incredible results. Are you ready to get stuck in and start breaking down each of these core elements? All right, let's get stuck in. Okay, so this is the segue. We're hinting all three things. So they're like, awesome, number one sounds awesome, number two sounds great, and number three sounds amazing, right? Now we move into the content. The content section in itself should be around 4,000 word, and this is where you provide the value to the viewers. And like I said earlier, people are accustomed to webinars being dull, boring, and just straight pitch fest with no proof, no real value provided or anything. It's just a thinly veiled sales pitch, and we must be radically different to this. So we need to make sure that we stand out as being different by providing valuable information that shows them a step-by-step process to move them closer to their goal. If you're just painting in really broad brushstrokes, then people aren't going to feel like that this is going to be achievable for them. But if you give them a step-by-step process, you're just breaking down the complexity and making it just all so much more palatable for your viewer. So that's why that's really key. And when you do this, you need to remember to follow my $1 billion copywriting formula that we talked about earlier, which is new. Make the content about something new that you've discovered. It needs to be unique and when we make it unique from other, we need to make it unique from all the other content that they've heard or learnt about before. Exciting, do not switch up your tone and make it dry and boring. Make it relatable to the viewers and get them excited about what this content will do for them. And that's really, really important. Don't just have it all fun and engaging in the beginning and then dry and dull when you go straight into the delivery of the actual content. Easy, as always, make it seem easy, like anyone can implement the information that you're sharing with them. And predictable, remember to make it really, really predictable. So whenever you're showing your content, you're saying, and this enables you to get this predictable result, something that they can do without risking much time, effort, or money. And consider comparing it to other methods to make your method like the most safe and logical and predictable choice. And lastly is huge. Remember to make the opportunity huge. Give context to what you're teaching and how much faster and easier that they can reach their goals using this content that you're giving them. And again, it must be something that they have never, ever heard or seen before. You also need to ensure that it fulfills on the bullets and the main promise that you made in the hook and title of the webinar. Now, naturally, I can't give you this piece of content because I don't know what niche that you're operating in. So you're going to need to do the content delivery. But the tips on actually how to do that is using this formula, using 3 core elements, and really, with that being said, breaking up the content like this. It doesn't have to be hard, right? There are certain rules that you can follow which will help you. And that is to basically break the content up into 3 overarching core elements. And then within those 3 core elements, then you basically want to have like 3 to 5 smaller steps within there. And you want to chunk it down. And by chunking it down, it not only makes it easier for you to write and present the content, but it makes it easier for the viewer to grasp and understand the information. You don't want to be going in and using all this crazy industry jargon and making it like just so much of like a brain load for them to even think about. It needs to just be chunked down into small little bite-sized pieces. In addition to this, here are some other guidelines for creating the content of this section. So you want to give context to each core element, and you want to explain why it's important they get this part right, how it helps them later, and the consequences of getting it wrong. You must also show that polarity. Help them realize how big the size of the potential of this opportunity is and how enormous and how huge it is. If you can, you want to get them to visualize how that they can use this information in each step and how much easier or better their results will be if they use this. And you want to use it to future pace. Like, could you imagine how easy it would be to grow your business if you know exactly how to generate 400 to 500 ready to buy wallet out leads coming into your business every single day? Or do you see how easy it would be to shed kilos of weight if you knew exactly the foods to eat that would make you lose weight in your sleep and just burn body fat off you hour by hour? Or do you see how easy it would be to build your property portfolio if you knew exactly how to locate and identify the hottest new booming growth corridors in any city, in any country around the world, and then you had the exact negotiation script to be able to go out there and secure those properties at below market value? So that's how we're relating it. We're bringing that information back to benefit them. We're not just giving them the information for information's sake. Give them the strategy or the steps in a clear, logical way and provide proof wherever possible. Relevant stats and reports and client results and screenshots and testimonials. I really need to push home that point of just peppering in as much proof and testimonials as you can all the way throughout it. You'll see me do it in all of my marketing. I go overboard with it. You should also go overboard with it as well. And at the end of each core element, ask yes questions to get commitment from the viewer that they understand and agree with what you just showed them and that they understand and agree that it is also true. So the first core element is usually the most in-depth, where you really dig deep and show them the details, the juice, right? This is because you want them to gain confidence that they can do it and that you know what you're talking about. And it's kind of like it's hitting down that first domino, is that first core element. If you just go and you just launch into some really complex shit, like they're just going to tune out and they're going to be like, wow, like, I got this wrong. I'm not going to be able to do this. Plus, you want to build pace and momentum as you progress through the elements. So the second and the third will be shorter and a little bit more punchier. And lastly, write the first draft of the content section unfiltered and without limitations. After this, then you can whittle it down into the appropriate length and structure. It's easy to cut things out rather than try to beef things up later. So you want to do what we call the copy dump, and you just want to dump out all of those kind of ideas into the core element. And then the magic is really in the edit, when you want to just edit it down and make sure that it's really flowing smoothly, it's not too complex, and it's chunked down. What you must understand that this is not a thesis. This is not some magnum opus, your life's work, right? This is like basically you don't want to just bog people down and bog your audience down with the details. You want to keep it high level, keep it exciting, keep it short and punchy. You want to deliver that value and don't hold out too much, but you don't want to give them the full scoop of everything and all the details and just bog them down and even empower them to be able to go out and do this without you. So you do need to show them the strategy, but keep it high level. And obviously the content section of each webinar, it will be unique, right? But this is what the outline of the structure will look like. And it's what I just explained, where you have core element number 1, which is the most in-depth, and you want to break that down to 3 to 5 chunks. Then core element number 2, this is what we want to break down into 3 to 5 chunks as well. Core element number 3, also 3 to 5 chunks. Now, after that's done, we switch into the transition section. So you've delivered all the content of the webinar. It's really, really awesome. You haven't bogged them down. You've kept it high level, lightweight, moving through excitement, peppered in the proof. Now we transition. And the whole transition section is only around 500 to 600 words, and it consists of 3 very important parts. So listen carefully. So the first part is the 60-second recap. I call this the mini bomb. Then there's the yes momentum. And then the third thing is the 2 choices transition close. So let's just break these down one by one. So the 60-second recap, here's where you simply want to do a quick recap of the main points of your content. Right? So whatever you've just delivered, you just gave them a stack of information and they've probably forgotten most of it already. It's gone in one ear and out the other, and it sounded really cool at the time, but that was a fleeting moment and now it's gone. So we just want to give them a reminder of the value that we gave them before we transition into the close. And here's what this section will look like. Okay, so I know that I've given you a ton of information and it's pretty easy to feel overwhelmed and forget some of the key points. So let's do a quick recap together to give you another chance for it to sink in. In the first core principle, we covered core element number 1. You saw how to do this. You discovered how important it is to do this before that. And I taught you how to do this much, much faster. And in the second principle, we covered core element number 2. I revealed why this is so much easier when you do that. Why so many people fail when trying to do that. And the key things that you need to remember in order to avoid the same fate. And finally, we went through core element number 3 together. You discovered the 5 steps to lose weight in 30 days. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and step 5. All right, so that's kind of the mini recap. It's the mini bomb. It brings everything back up. They understand it. It's like awesome. They feel really empowered. And now we want to switch into the yes momentum. And here is a simple section where we ask 6 rhetorical type questions where the answer is obviously yes. And this is to create what we call the yes momentum and to get them in a state where they are more likely to say yes again. And when you present your offer, so the way that you do that is you're going to be asking these 6 rhetorical questions. We want to keep that momentum and then we'll be transitioning straight into our offer. So they've already got this momentum to say yes. An example of this would be this. Now let me ask you, If you knew or had this specific thing that we just taught them, could you easily achieve the thing that they want? So if you knew exactly how to generate 500 ready-to-buy leads each and every month coming into your business for as little as $3 a lead, do you think that you could grow your business? I mean, if you knew exactly what foods to eat, at what point to eat them, and at what exercise, each and every time that you go to the fridge, do you think that in the next 30 days that you could lose weight? And if you had the ability to source, buy, secure at the best price possible a property portfolio full of properties that were bursting with value without the guesswork, do you think that you would be able to live a life where you are financially free? Excellent. Now, I have total confidence that you could take what I've just given you so far today and get the results that were not possible before you attended this training. That you could go out on your own and start finding and buying properties and have a significant advantage over any other person that is also trying to begin their journey in property investment. Now that we have the yes momentum, so do you see how we've done that? Whatever it is for your niche, you want to inject those yes questions. And now that we've got that and we've built the momentum and the wind is in the sails, so to speak, we want to transition into the offer section. And this is where so many people just come undone and they ruin the effectiveness of their whole pitch. Like the whole pitch is building up until this crescendo. And then they just kind of fall over like a house of cards. And they go from confidently presenting the content section to making their offer in a nervous rush state. Like they're really confident when they're delivering all the value, but then they feel like a slimy, sleazy salesperson when they go into the offer section. And this is really a mindset thing. What you must understand is all the information that you've given them is just information, right? If you really want to change people's life, you have to get them to pull the trigger and buy, because that's where you deliver your value. That's where you provide transformation. So don't feel bad about this. Don't sell from your heels. Commit to it and just get fully involved. Don't be nervous and don't feel rushed. All you are trying to do is help your prospect. And the way that you do that is by making an offer that is going to help them. So the viewer senses this and they really get turned off. They can feel people's tone change, their pace and the cadence that they're delivering, everything change. And that change in cadence and confidence and enthusiasm sets off alarm bells. So this section is just as much for you, the presenter, as it is for the viewer. And you want to get them to acknowledge the value that you've given them and that they will improve the results that they're going to go out and get using the information that you've just given them. But then come right out and tell them. And the way that we do that is we shoot in another pattern interrupt and we say the truth, right? Now, this immediately gets them to sit up in their chair and gets them to re-engage. Because like, oh, is this all been a lie? What is the truth? I want to know what it is. And it also speaks directly to their suspicion that surely it can't be this simple. So we want to go on and say, look, I would be lying if I said that there was a cookie cutter approach that works for everyone in every situation, because everyone's situation is different. And that's why I now want to show you exactly how to do it for your specific situation. Okay. And a better way where they could basically go out and they could get your help and have you working with them to give them the fastest, safest, and easiest way possible to lose weight, to build the property portfolio of their dreams, and to build a wildly profitable business. And now we want to inject and pepper in some more proof. And we would say, just like these people got, just how these guys got these absolutely crazy results. Now, after this, we now finally move into the last section, and that is where we make our Godfather offer, an offer that is just too good for our prospect to refuse. And because we're selling services, the best type of Godfather offer is a free 30, 45, or 60-minute consultation call where we will show them exactly how to apply this strategy specifically for them in the next 45 days. And the wording for that is we would come back And we would say, just like these people do. So what I want to do is I want to offer you a free 30-minute consultation call where I'll show you exactly how to apply the strategy that I've outlined today, specifically for you in your individual circumstances in the next 45 days or whatever the time frame is to you to get the results that you're after. Now, you want to do 3 features plus a benefit style bullets for this. Okay, so we're now going to be basically adding bullet points to what they're going to be getting on that call. On this call, we'll cover exactly how to find, source, and buy properties at under market value so you can really explode the value of your property portfolio. Or we're going to show you how to lose weight. We're going to show you how to grow your business. And how to specific other thing to get another benefit that they really want. Plus, I'll reveal the contradicting fact to get the benefit that they really want. Plus, I'll reveal while doing cardio actually makes you fatter. And if you want to lose weight and keep it off for good and get in the best shape of your life, you must avoid this at all cost. So it's important to really kind of not overwhelm them at this stage, because you'll lose them if you do that. If you start adding all this other stuff that you've never ever mentioned before, they're going to be gone. And you don't want to keep rambling on. This is not like, let me throw everything that I've got at them and just hope that something hits. And so I'll come back that you don't want to keep rambling on about every single little detail and feature that's included. That's not what this is for. We're just pitching the call. So you want to give that offer a sexy title and a tangible thing that they get, right? And the way that you do that is like, we'll also design you a custom $450 roadmap for you for free. So we're going to give you a property investment roadmap, and we're going to show you exactly the criteria that we look for when we're sourcing property for our clients. Now, this dramatically increases the desire and motivation for taking you up on your offer, because now not only are you dressed up the offer and it's got a lot of value around it, but then they've also got this tangible thing that their mind can wrap around that they'll be getting on the call, and it really pumps up the desire for it, and it really increases the pulling power of your offer. Now, next, we move on to explaining the delivery and the mechanics of how this works, because they are going to have questions. And the way that we do that is by literally just explaining what's going to be happening next. So we'll say, we'll hop on a quick call and listen to what you're trying to achieve. We'll figure out together where the biggest opportunities for the thing that they want are for you. We'll then review your specific situation, i.e. your financials, your weight, your website, your Facebook ads. We'll review your website and do a conversion rate optimization audit. Whatever it is, there has to be some believability to like you being able to have a look at their current situation. Then future pace so that they can get the context and imagine what this will really do for them. And then we'll design a custom plan specifically tailored for your individual situation for you to reach your goals. Now, people are highly skeptical, and the thoughts of jumping on a phone call with somebody sounds like a trap. And unless you address that skepticism, you ain't going to get no phone calls, okay? So this is not some thinly veiled sales pitch in disguise. You're getting a complete roadmap blueprint strategy specifically tailored to your situation. Now, at this stage, the sound of that voice in their head is almost going to be deafening. They're going to be saying like, why are you doing this? And they're just going to keep saying like, why? I just don't understand why this company is doing this. And you're going to have to literally come out and say, why are we doing this? Because that's what they're thinking. So we'll say, why are we doing this? Well, in the nature of full transparency, we do this because many people who go through this process are so impressed and happy with the strategy that we give for them for free that they ask to become a client. Okay, so that just shows what our motives are. Okay, so these guys are going to try to get clients. So they're being fully transparent. This process is going to be so impressive that people actually ask to become a client. Okay, I'll give it a shot. Now, they still might be saying that it still sounds too good to be true. right? And even after you've explained your motive, they'll be like, nah, like this thing just sounds just too good to be true, right? There's got to be something else. So then we want to come out and say, but there's a catch. And then what they do when you say this, in their mind, they're like, aha, I knew it. There is a catch. I got these guys, right? But we're telling them we're making the damaging omission, but there is a catch. We can't help everyone. And this allows you to further qualify and keep the time wasters and the dreamers at bay. We don't want to be speaking with broke tire kickers who just want to kick the tires and do nothing, okay? So then we break out into, this is who this is for. If you want to achieve your specific desired result fast, I'm talking about months, not years. If you want to consistently achieve specific desired result each day and each week and each month. If you're tired of seeing everyone else around you winning. If you are committed to achieving the desired result and are willing to work to make that happen. Willing to have skin in the game. If you've had enough of wasting money and not seeing any results. Okay, so that's going to be like, awesome, that's all me, excellent. Now the next step is to create scarcity and urgency. And we do that with a warning. So warning, we only have a limited number of slots available as there is only so many of us here in the office and we've got paying clients to attend to. So this is a logical, real and believable element of scarcity. It's not some fake scarcity like you only do have so many people. Right? If there was trying to be 5,000 people booking on your calendar, that wouldn't be possible. Therefore, it is real. There is real scarcity. Next, what we want to do is gain commitment. And then we'd say to them, are you ready to put all the gimmicks to bed and finally get this done in the next 45 days or whatever the time frame is for you? And now we want to segue into what's called the 2 options close. And what we want to say to them, here are your options. One is you go it alone. You try to do this without a proven roadmap, without the answers or proper education. Procrastinate and tell yourself that you'll do it later, or guess your way through this without having this system or framework or solution. Or you want to play Russian roulette with your future, lose mountains of money trying to figure all this stuff out and hoping and praying that just something changes for you. Or 2, you get it right the first time. Simply get the proven system and roadmap. Give yourself every possible advantage. Get every tip, hack, shortcut, and unfair advantage. Eliminate guesswork and get it right the first time. Skip trial and error and the insanely expensive learning curve. Choose the proven path to the promised land. So they're the 2 options we're giving them. And then again, we want to provide proof, if possible, with how clients have benefited from this component or how you have used it to get your personal results. And now we tell them to take action, right? We're not going to ask them. We are going to tell them to take action right now. So we want to say, click the button. Right, we're going to be very explicit. You might be thinking, oh, why? I just have the button there. Why tell them? It's a command. You have to tell them, right? And then we explain exactly what will happen after they do that, after they do click the button. And, people, they take this for granted. You need to be very, very specific and tell your prospect exactly what to do and what will happen after they do it. Once you click the button below, you'll be taken to a short questionnaire. It's nothing intrusive. It takes about 3 minutes to fill out. It simply helps us prepare for our session together. Next, you'll book in a specific time for your call on our calendar. Okay? So you might be thinking, why on earth do we explain such a basic thing, Sabri? Well, we leave nothing to chance or confusion. I don't want any prospects sitting on the fence because there's any element of confusion or there's even a chance that they don't know what's going to happen next. I am going to explain it in very vivid details and I'm going to make this thing dummy proof. And that's how you really bolster those conversions and really have extremely high conversion rates on webinars. Now, after that, we then remind them of the scarcity and we push urgency to act right now. And we say spots are limited to a specific number of slots, so 15 spots or 12 per week, whatever that number is, per day or per week. It has to be believable, right? And there has to be believable reasons behind it. So spots are limited to just 5 per day. I only have so many people on my team that I've got allocated to speak with potentially new clients. We then include a link to the bonus that we promised at the start of the training. And that's just like we've got a visual element of them and we link to the cool thing that we promised them, and you go to link.com to get that. We can't hyperlink it on the webinar and we don't want to either. We just want to have the link written in the actual slide because that's not our call to action. That's just the bonus that we promised them to make them stay to the end. And then what we want to do is lastly, we just want to push the call to action one last time. And we want to say, click the button below right now and claim your offer, your 30-minute strategy session. We're really looking forward to speaking to you. Again, you want to go to /offer to get that and get it all set up. And we really look forward to speaking to you. I hope you got a lot of time and value out of this. And then after this is optional, right? The optional part is after you've done your offer and everything's done, then if you've got any video testimonials, you want to have them roll for a few minutes. So when you export your webinar training as a video, you can just use some basic video editing software and you can stack on some video testimonials and you just let them play. Like you just have them, however many you got, you just let them play. Your call to action button's still there so they can book in the thing, but it's just allowing other people to come in and give you great testimonials and maybe address any concerns or anything that they have got going. So that is an optional thing. It's a bonus if you do have it. And that is it. That is the webinar. That is the whole process. That's me breaking down every single element of the script, showing you how to customize it for your own business. And the resources section for this module is the Dark Prince webinar script. I have given you all of the slides ready to go in both Keynote and PowerPoint, where you're going to just be able to get them, customize it. And I also provide for you a short video in the resources section that actually shows you the logistics of how to record a webinar in both PowerPoint and Keynote and kind of what microphone that I recommend for doing that and getting all of that set up. So that's it. Let's take a look at the action items. So don't just do it to do it. And what I mean by that is don't just do the webinar because it sounds cool and you really like this training and I've got you all excited. Only record your webinar and only do it and prepare it when you actually need it, when you've exhausted the King Kong funnel 1 and 2. Don't do it otherwise. It's a lot of work, even though I've made it as plug and play as possible. The results are phenomenal, but don't just do it just to do it. Then you want to download the Dark Prince webinar script if it is the right time for you to implement the webinar. And you want to brainstorm 4 to 5 webinar titles that follow the formula that I gave you inside this training. You want to collect all the unquestionable social proof that you can pepper all the way throughout your webinar. And then you want to start writing and editing your webinar and getting that thing done. And once you've written and customized it all, then you can go ahead and record it and deploy it. So we covered a lot. There is a lot to go through here. You go and get to work, and I will see you in the next video.